Hello there again. This is Grow Your Own with PACE, Practical Actions for Climate and the Environment. And today what we're going to do is to sow two important root vegetables. That's parsnips and carrots. Now parsnips and carrots are interesting really because they're both really sand dune plants from very sandy areas, particularly parsnips, carrots also, but they grow at the back of sand dunes. So we have to be careful growing these because if there's any lumps in the soil, there wouldn't be any lumps in a sandy soil, so if there's any stones or anything like that in there, then it'll cause the carrots, or the parsnips in particular, cause them to fork. It's a bit of a workout this. So these are for parsnips. As I said, they're sandy soil plants. We don't want them to fork. It's much more difficult to prepare parsnips if they forked, in the kitchen. So we'll try and get them straight. This is just an old spade handle here, just sharpened to a point. So I've done my parsnip holes there. So this is what parsnip seed looks like. Don't do this on a windy day, they'll blow all over the place. Right, so the first job is to fill this hole with a very sandy mixture. There's a bit of compost in there, peat free of course, and I fill the hole right up. Well, actually not right up yet, because the bottom of the hole, it's always difficult to get the sand right down to the bottom, so I just make sure it's gone right down to the bottom of the hole there. Otherwise there'd be an air pocket down at the bottom there. And then fill up even further. Not quite to the top, maybe just to there. So we're simulating a sand dune really, I suppose, because that's the natural habitat for parsnips. And then I need probably about eight, I usually put about 8 parsnip seeds around the top of each hole there. Quite difficult to get 8 parsnip seeds. I'll do my best. There we go, just lay them on there. Pat them down so they don't blow away. There's a bit of a breeze picking up here. I'll just do this one. I could put some more sand on top there. I usually put a little bit of compost just on the top there. Like that. Now, first things a parsnip does when it germinates, it sends a long taproot all the way down. Even that little seed will send a long taproot all the way down, making sure that, if it was on a sand dune, it'd have to get that root down very early to get down to the water. If you do them like this, then they don't need as much watering. There are other ways of doing parsnips as well, so but this way they don't need so much watering because they get that taproot right the way down. So just another technique for doing parsnips. There are quite a lot of different techniques really, but this one is based on toilet rolls, so don't throw those toilet rolls away, because you could use them. Fill them up with a fine compost. You can stack them in a tray like that, fill the whole tray with them, and then put a few parsnip seeds in the top of each one, like that, and cover them up. Now the advantage of this is that you could look after these in the greenhouse, for example, get them going, get them growing, and when the parsnips are formed, the young plants are formed, then you can take one of them and you can pop it in a hole like that. And it just means you can look after that plant well, and it means you don't disturb the taproot when it goes into the ground. Anyway, I prefer the first technique. That's the one my dad taught me. It worked for him and it works for me. But why did I put about 8 parsnip seeds in each hole? perhaps you're thinking, well, we'll only end up with one parsnip in each hole, but normally I would expect to get 3 or 4 reasonable sized parsnips from each of these holes. So I'll pop about 8 seeds in. Obviously you only put 1 seed in, and that's very risky. That one might not germinate. So we put about 8 in, and then we might reduce those down, thin them out a little bit, so you end up with 3 or 4 parsnips. So the next thing we're going to do is to sow the carrots. So again, I have to prepare the soil for that. I put 2 canes in there, look. I'm going to pull the fork through and back. Make sure there's no stones in that soil. Any stone which would make the carrot fork. Pull that fine soil back into that area. Any stones, just flick those out. And then make sure I finish this. So it'll be about the right depth for the seed. So here's the carrot seed. See, it's quite fine really, isn't it? So yeah, different types of carrot seed, but I always try and get one which is resistant to the carrot fly. Carrot fly is a big problem with carrots. These little grubs of the carrot fly will mine into the carrot, but there are some varieties that are resistant, so try and get one of those. Resistor fly, for example, or fly away, 2 of those varieties. Now I'm not going to sow 2 rows here. I'm going to broadcast the seed across the whole of that area, so the carrots will develop across the whole of that area. Try and do it reasonably finely. You can mix the carrot seed with sand or something like that to enable you to distribute the seed more evenly, but usually it works okay. So now I'm going to cover those seeds. They're only very small seeds, so they don't need a great deal of covering. So pull the fine soil back over those seeds. Any stones, kick those to one side. So you get some fine soil over the seed. So now just water those in. Give them a good water. Some carrots in. You can cover your carrot row with a fine mesh like this, or a fleece, and that will stop the carrot fly getting to them. Pin it down on both sides. Carrot flies around in May time, something like that, but it does have a second generation later in the year, so it's always a threat to carrots. And even if you get the resistor fly ones, they don't resist all the flies. So yeah, covering with the fleece is a good idea as well. So that's our carrots and parsnips sown. Parsnips, oh, I love roast parsnips. Some people don't like parsnips, do they? But try roasting them. Carrots, of course, everybody likes carrots. So carrots and parsnips sown. It'll be a few weeks before they come up. There we go.